You've asked.
We've answered.
This is our brand new series, Tracking Transition. This is the Quirks and Conjure answer to Anthony Bourdain's No Reservations. What the series is really going to be about is us going to locations, physically, since, hey, we're in the bus now, to get the best information to not only inform you and entertain you, but to give you a broader scope of just how wide and ridiculous this field is.
In this series, we want to give you the history, we want to give you the personal stories, the anthropology, the science, and the paranormal.
Each episode is going to feature people from the location we're going to be visiting. If we're doing an interview, we might sit down with a voodoo priest and give you the actual real-life skinny on what it is. Or we could do paranormal investigations of a building we travel to. Or we could go and we could give you a full overview of everything the city has to provide, fun, food, paranormal, and otherwise.
We got a lot of evidence for this first episode, so we really hope that you enjoy the first part of the first episode of Tracking Transition.
That's right, it's a three-parter to introduce you to this new series, so make sure you subscribe and hit that bell so you know when the next parts come out. I'm J. Robert Rains.
My name is Rebekah Carmichael.
I'm Holly Saperstein.
Hi, my name's Kent West.
My name is Kendall Cosgrove.
My name is Jamie Stone.
I'm trained in psychology. I'm a professional analyst. My work is on spirit work. It is actual communication and working with spirits.
I'm a paranormal enthusiast. I have training in psychology, and I am spiritually sensitive. I grew up in and around haunted areas, and over time I've learned not to be so afraid of these things anymore. I think that open-mindedness and balance that I come to when I go to spiritual places is going to help with this investigation.
I'm the executive director of the Wilmington Railroad Museum. I work here every day. I hear from employees when they have had a paranormal experience. I am a scientific researcher by background. My undergrad is in biochemistry, and I'm a historic researcher by background, and I want facts and figures and all of the things that stand behind something. But all of my life, I have been intrigued by what we don't know, what we can't prove, what we can't necessarily see or show even factual content to.
I was in law enforcement for over 36 years. I was in training for a team that was located here in Wilmington some years ago to be a paranormal member of the group. I try not to jump to conclusions, make assumptions, so I don't assume everything that happens is paranormal. And I also don't assume that something happens isn't paranormal. I work with most of the people on the team. We're all guides with the Ghost Walk of Old Wilmington, a haunted pub crawl. We've already got a bond to work together, a natural understanding of each other, good work ethic.
I'm social media coordinator here at the Railroad Museum, and I also work in the gift shop. I tend to apparently stir things up in the museum. A lot of the energies and entities kind of, I guess, make themselves a little more known when I'm here. I think I'm a bit more open to it than others at the museum.
I graduated from Arizona State University with a degree in American Studies, which is basically history. I have been doing a little bit of historical research in Wilmington for several years. I moved here 10 years ago. I became interested in paranormal and history when I moved into an incredibly haunted house. I have what a lot of communication studies people call a tolerance for ambiguity. I am okay with not knowing the answer or what's really causing it.
The Wilmington and Weldon Railroad came in here. It was one of the first railroads in the country in 1840, and they at one point in time were the world's longest rail line in the country, in the world actually. They found opportunity to ship freight And so suddenly things that were, available here that maybe not in the northeastern part of the country could be shipped. Things like oysters and things could be put on ice and sent places. So freight houses became a big necessity, especially with things like tobacco, cotton, turpentine, pine. Huge things that had to be shipped around the country. So this warehouse and the warehouse next to us were built by the Wilmington Weldon Line, which later became the Atlantic Coastline Railroad. Atlantic Coastline employed about a third of the town, and in addition to that, this whole end of Wilmington was just surrounded by Atlantic Coastline buildings. The building next to us was the first warehouse, and it was built in 1881. We were built in 1883. And this is building B of the Atlantic Coastline. It's a one-story building. Freight was held here, shipped out the doors, these big rounded doors, out to trains and shipped around the country. At one point in time, there were 8 tracks that ran between us and the building next door. And I have pictures of huge sailing ships and cargo ships at the very end, because this was a major port right here at the railroad. Railroad found that it was going to be financially a better decision than Atlantic Coastline Railroad to move to Jacksonville, Florida. And rather than, letting their employees know for a period of time, they suddenly just announced it like on an Easter Sunday. Hey, y'all are gonna have no job anytime soon. They moved the entire operations to Jacksonville, Florida, where it actually remains today. Atlantic Coastline Railroad became CSX, which you may have see their trains all over transporting things. They relocated about 900 of the 3,200 families. So it was one of the biggest relocation of an employee base, which left a lot of families really wondering what they were going to do financially. So it was devastating to Wilmington as the #1 employer in not only Wilmington, but the New Hanover, Brunswick County, the whole area. For the operations to up and move was really devastating. And we're pretty much one of the last 2 railroad buildings in this area. It was a warehouse from 1883 until about 1969, when it sat vacant for a number of years. Then there were some different businesses in here. The museum was located in the building across the parking lot. Moved in here in 2007. We've been here ever since. We do know that there were deaths here due to somebody getting hurt on the job or killed on the job. That happened predominantly in the railroad a lot. It was a difficult and unsafe job many times. We also know of a murder that happened here. A person who was docked here from a British sailing ship went downtown for a few drinks, and on his way back met up with a guy from what would have been the barrel manufacturer on the other side of this building. And they got into a fight, as 2 drunk guys can sometimes. The local guy wound up stabbing to death multiple times the British sailor. And that became a huge court case here. The local guy was set free. Yes, so the guy who died, there was no justice for him. And he was buried here in an unmarked grave. Not here on this property, but here in Wilmington, never to go back home. That happened right out here in the yard, right outside of where basically our door would be.
So that would kind of make this building one of the few places that if they were wandering spirits, that they could come and feel comfortable with, right?
That is a fascinating thought. Just across the street where the parking deck is now, are some of the headquarters. People would walk over here quite a bit, back and forth to that building, and all around us we were surrounded by Wilmington Railroad buildings. So that's an interesting thought.
Lots of things happen. It's never a dull moment at the museum. I get a feeling that there are some main characters here and then some background noise. I feel like there are probably like 3 or 4 entities that are really tied to this building, and they make themselves known, whether they're doing it on purpose or not. We've heard conversations before, same voices every time we hear the conversations. Then we also just have general like background noise. I've heard chatter before coming from the other end of the museum when I'm at one end, and it doesn't sound like anything really. It just maybe sounds like English to someone who doesn't speak English. Generally, it's either just general happiness, or they want to play some pranks on us. So it's a little bit playful.
One thing that presents itself is in any haunting, the same things happen over and over again to people who have never met and people who've never heard the story, which to me adds a great degree of legitimacy to the fact that something's going on, and although experiencing it is a subjective thing based on the reports and the histories, a lot of hauntings are far more objective than people like to think.
You know, a couple of times I've had to check myself because I've been working here alone. Actually, for the last 5 months, it's been predominantly I've been here alone, other than some volunteers. But even, well before that, when I would come in to open up the museum, there were occasional times that either as I was opening or as I was leaving, it was like somebody was trying to get my attention.
A lot of times when I'm opening up in the morning, I will come a little bit early. If I'm the only one in the museum, I'll often hear jazz music playing.
I would hear singing, and the singing seemed to be almost like you felt like it was far away, but you knew it was close. It was not like a radio left on, though I did check that the first time. It was songs not of this time, old gospel or old hymns or work songs or bluegrass.
It feels like it's echoing through. It's not super loud, it's faint, like you have to listen for it, but it feels echoey. It sort of sounds like it's coming out of a tin can, so that makes me think old speakers from back in the day, things that they would have been playing here to entertain the railroad workers, because this was a working freight warehouse for the Atlantic coastline.
Did you hear that? Let me play it again.
Railroad workers, because this was a working freight warehouse for the Atlantic coastline.
The fascinating thing about that is that there were no issues with the cable or the microphones or the footage. It only happened when Kendall spoke, and it happened consistently throughout the night. Spiritual activity can affect electronics. Does that mean it's anything? No, we'll have to keep digging. But for now, it's a really fascinating coincidence.
And I thought at first, is somebody at the hotel playing something? I'd even go out the back door. Nothing.
I usually go outside and check and see if someone is blasting music out there. There's never anything going on.
Come back in, walk around, and I'd hear it again. In a specific location.
It kind of starts when I get to where our library is, something that I feel like everyone has kind of experienced.
Did they have a radio here when it was a freight house that played for the people, or just somebody trying to sing and get my attention? I don't know.
On the night of our investigation, I took to going around and interviewing people on how they felt and how they prepared, while Jay set up the tech.
So, how are you feeling about tonight, and what have you done to prepare?
I'm looking forward to it. I'm hoping we have some interesting experiences. I'm not really worried or fearful of anything. I'm just really open-minded to what we may find. Today was just sort of a light day. Did a little exercise. That's always sort of mind clearing for me, and that's really about it, I guess.
And did the pizza help you do what you need to do?
Yes, the pizza definitely put me in the right mind for being here till way after midnight on an empty stomach. So
yes.
I have to avoid that anyway. So that was the other thing I did for me, I guess, was that slice of pie. So.
Awesome.
Do you want me to start now?
Yeah, like whenever.
So basically, to prepare for this, I charged a bunch of my crystals under the moonlight last night and brought them here. The majority of them are protection crystals, but some of them are like third eye chakra crystals that I like to work with. I have some of my jewelry that sort of acts as an amulet for me, and just more as protection as well. I'm feeling really excited for tonight.
Hey, Jamie. Hey, hi.
I wasn't playing with anything.
No, I'm sure you wouldn't be.
Am I standing like a bad game show host, male model kind of thing?
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
Did you do anything to prepare for tonight, and how are you feeling?
I made sure I had a fresh diaper. No, I'm actually pretty excited. I've been here when it's dark and I'm alone before, and it's kind of cool. I mean, the energy here, it's not terrifying or scary. It's just like, oh yeah, there's something going on here. So it's kind of fun to have people here to sort of verify what all of us have felt here at one time or another.
I really didn't do anything very specific to prepare. I did speak to some of my volunteers today to let them know what we were doing this evening, as we did some of our setup yesterday. And also, just actually really looking forward to it. I plan on watching the good teamwork, and I'm going to be fascinated by what the outcome is.
This afternoon I did a lot of meditating. I also brought a pendulum that is specifically for our Patreon base on one of our tiers. And I actually have it because this was the display that Jay made and I loved it so much that I wanted one for myself. I'm hoping that this will allow me to be more confident in what I'm receiving, but also allow me to stay a bit more grounded on what is going on. As far as I'm feeling tonight, I'm really excited. Though I'm gonna be honest, there are a few mannequins here and they're freaking me out.
So I went ahead and had the EVP thing running, and within just a few minutes, it said good evening, so I'm pretty sure they're ready for us.
You can say whatever, it's not gonna have audio. Yeah, well, wow. Maybe this will have audio. Bye.
Oh. Did you get that off camera? I'm good. I'm jazzed. I'm just trying to like get everything set. We have our mobile set up. We got food and drink because obviously we have the cameras that we're about to go set up now. Gimbals, lights, extra cameras, internet, everything we need to be able to continue moving.
I've never had a crystal break in my life before unless something was about to happen, something did happen, or...
Hopefully it's a good thing.
I'm hoping, but yeah, so these two kind of broke a little bit. I've literally never had that happen before. It's chalcopyrite and it's pretty. That's why I gravitate towards it, honestly. But I do like the creative aspect of it. And then this is more of like a grounding protection stone, I guess. So it's very interesting that they broke when I came in.
We're excited. I'm excited. Are you excited? We're excited. Did you bring that one? Yeah.
Thanks so much for watching this episode of Tracking Transition, Episode 1.
If you want to hear about Episode 2, stay tuned next week. But if you want to know when we put out any videos, subscribe to the channel and hit that bell. So not only you hear about Tracking Transition, but Rebekah the Ghost Guide. Is it real and had a deal? So we bought a bus. Anything we might do, that's how to follow.
And to keep up with what we're doing, check out our Instagram and other social media pages. Lastly, a huge thank you to our Patreons, especially Nick and Emily. We'll see ya next week.
Stay classy, stay spooky, keep your pants dry, and we'll see you then.